How to move to Mexico. We're going to cover visas, costs, taxes, best places to move to. Why move to Mexico? Why are so many people moving to Mexico from the US? It's a lot less expensive, a third, a half to a third as much as it costs to live in the US. It's close to the US, so if you're looking to be international, you could drive across. You can get a cheap, easy flight just a couple hours from major US cities. There's a it's a big country. There's a wide range of sizes of cities, of mountains versus coast versus historic areas. There's a lot of great culture, of course, world-class food, vibrant communities. It's very affordable, high quality, private healthcare. Some of the big urban centers are going to be Mexico City, Guadalajara. In Guadalajara, you also have some big expat communities, Ajijic, Lake Chapala. Mexico City there's something going on all the time. There's museums, there's festivals, there's parades, everything seems bigger than life there. Guadalajara is a tech hub, a lot going on there. Querétaro and Puebla are beautiful mountain cities, good sized cities. Querétaro's growing quickly, both close to Mexico City, a couple hours away from their airport. Safe, modern, great infrastructure, really growing, big data center industry there. Puebla is historic. Of course, great food, nice historic architecture. Oaxaca, San Miguel de Allende are some nuggets, nice towns with a lot of great things to see, a lot of tradition, historic. San Miguel has a huge expat community. Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan are two nice beach communities, nice big size, lot to see. You get a nice mix of culture, climate, the coast activities, and big, strong expat communities. So you don't have to miss home that much. Merida, over on the Yucatan side, with cenotes, tradition or the Mayan culture, the ruins, the just a big mix of culture, history, great cuisine. The cenotes and the coast are right there, jungles, big, nice mix. Lake Chapala, right there near Guadalajara, real close, half an hour, 45 minutes from the airport there, international airport. Lots of beautiful choices, big variety depending on what you want. And you don't even have to, if you're retired or working remotely, you don't have to pick one. You can rent, check it out, go visit another place. Cost of living, if you're frugal, we're looking at around $1,000 a month. Comfortable, maybe 2,000 a month. Of course, 3,000 a month, you can get a really nice lifestyle. You're way above. You're in the upper portion of incomes there. So you're really doing well. Housing is typically half the cost of the US. I mean, in the US, it's hard to imagine buying right on the coast, whereas that is possible in Mexico. Visas, here's your options. If you're a tourist, you can go in there, you can get your tourist visa. You have 180 days maximum. You can't work, but you could stay up to 180 days. If you want to stay longer, you have to get a residency, a temporary or permanent residency. So temporary residency, it's easier to get, lower criteria than permanent. So you could start with the temporary. You can renew it up to 4 years. And then you can get your permanent residency. And then you're done. You could stay there. You could also apply to be a citizen, but you don't have to. And if you're over 60, you don't have to take the culture history exam, just the language exam, and you can become a citizen if you'd like. But permanent resident, the criteria is a little higher, but That's it. Once you're a permanent resident, you can't vote, but you could stay as long as you want. You can work, you could do whatever you want while you're there. And then work visas, if you're moving based on a work visa, or there's education student visas, or maybe marriage, family unification visa. There are some other ways that you could be able to stay longer. Temporary residency visa, the requirement. You need to earn about a little over 4,000 a month, or have savings, and the savings is probably an easier goal or easier to meet, about 70,000 US dollars saved up. And you just have to show that you have a history of having that amount in the bank. It can't just be transferred one day and then you go to the consulate, just that you have a history or a record of having that much money. The requirements can vary by consulate. You're going to visit a consulate and start the process there. Permanent residency, it is much higher. Or I believe it's like 250,000 US dollars, or over 7,000 a month. But you can convert your temporary residency to permanent residency, and they don't check this. So you could start with temporary and then go to permanent later on after 4 years of temporary. And they don't check this a second time. They check your temporary and then it can convert. Once you're done, once you're granted it, there's no renewal. You're set. You've got you've done what you need to do. And again, you can go through the citizenship process if you want. Visa application process. So you set this up in the U.S. Now, this is for this normal system. If you have family unification, or work visa, or education, student visa, there's other ways to go about this. But just if you're an American, want to live there, generally you're going to set up an appointment in your U.S. Mexican consulate. You'll gather all your documents. They'll give you a list. You have an interview. You pay your fees. You get a sticker in your passport, in your U.S. passport, that you go into the U.S., you go into Mexico, and then you visit the INM within 30 days of going into Mexico. And they'll have you pay more fees and take your picture, and then you get your card, your residency card. Mexican tax system. It's a progressive system, just like the U.S. It is higher than the U.S. In general, our clients that earn in the U.S. and live in Mexico pay a higher Mexican tax than in the U.S. Yeah, there's a VAT tax on standard rate on most goods. Property tax, generally much lower than the U.S. Social Security, they have their own Social Security type system. So what does Mexico tax? They tax worldwide income. If you are a tax resident in Mexico and filing Mexican taxes, they're going to tax your worldwide income. They're going to tax wages, Social Security, self-employment, business income, rental income, wherever the rental is, interest, dividends, capital gains. They're taxing everything, just like we do in the U.S. When do you owe Mexican taxes? If you spend more than half the year in Mexico, or if Mexico is your center of vital interest. So if you have the intention, if you have your permanent residency or your temporary residency and you're spending most of your time down there, you are a Mexican tax resident and you must file annual returns. That's straightforward. If it's where you have, your intentions are there, you're living there, you're setting up a life there, then you're filing Mexican taxes. Tax residents, you have to do annual return before or due in April. If you're a non-resident, a lot of times they're just going to withhold it from the source. U.S. citizens must still file in the U.S. U.S. taxes you if you're a U.S. citizen, no matter where you live. They don't care where you live. They don't care where you spend 183 days. You could spend 0 days in the US, and you're filing your US tax return. That's the rules for US citizens. But double taxation isn't just because you're filing US and Mexico doesn't mean you're paying taxes twice on the same money. There are exclusions and exemptions, and you can avoid that double taxation or at least minimize it. So, an example, you're a retiree, you're a US citizen, you're living in Mexico, you're getting your Social Security income, but Mexico is your home. You report your income to Mexico tax authorities. You also report the US taxes. You file your US taxes as well. So US will be your primary taxing country because that's where your income's from. So US will tax you first, and then you'll get that will credit that amount you're paying in US taxes will be deducted on anything you'd owe in Mexico. If you have a bunch of money from a US employer, you're working remotely in Mexico, if you're living in Mexico, you are filing US taxes because you're a US citizen. You're filing Mexican taxes because that's where you're a resident. Again, you have foreign tax credits to avoid that double taxation. You could be employed by a Mexican company, same rules, except for Mexico's your primary tax filing. And then as you report your worldwide income in the US, you can deduct what you've already paid to Mexico so that you're not hit twice, or you minimize what's hit twice. Healthcare, private healthcare is so affordable. It's so transparent. You can walk in, you can get meds, you can get exams, you can get your blood drawn. They tell you the price right there. You pay it and you're done. Out of pocket for most routine healthcare is normal. Most of our clients do get insurance for if something big were to happen. But for routine healthcare, it's great. Sometimes the insurance won't include pre-existing conditions. A lot of our expat clients will do routine medical in Mexico. They'll have insurance in case something big happens, like you break a bunch of bones or you have a heart issue. And they'll come back to the US for some of their Medicare needs, see their primary physician, have some bigger things taken care of. There are several insurance options. You can get an insurance. If you're in Medicare age, you can keep your Medicare. It'll only help you in the US. And then you can get a Mexican policy for, again, if bigger things happen, high deductible type policy. Generally banking, you can keep, I guess it's worth opening a local account, transferring money in. Maybe your Social Security goes to your US bank account and you can transfer it over monthly. Or your investment account might be in the US. It's very transparent, well-regulated, low-expense investments, and then you can move it as needed. There's a bunch of options. Wise is one of them. A lot of our clients use where you could transfer money from U.S. accounts to Mexican accounts very, very inexpensively. Property and safety. So rent, we'd recommend renting first. I know a lot of people, we have clients that want to buy a place, and that's same in the US. They move to a new place, they really want to own property. I'd recommend renting first. Make sure you want to stay there, test neighborhoods, test cities, test, a year round the climate, see if you like it, and then buy. It's very reasonable to rent. Real estate prices don't go, or historically haven't gone up as much as in the US. You're probably going to have difficulty leveraging it at a reasonable price. Mortgages are going to be a lot more expensive is what I'm trying to say. So in the US, you get your 80% could be mortgaged. You get a pretty low mortgage rate, even today. And in Mexico, it's going to be a lot higher, that interest. And it may be difficult to even get a mortgage. So you're paying outright, so you might not be able to even leverage that investment. So again, if that's what you need for happiness and it fits your financial plan, great, buy a place. But you may want to, the market isn't as liquid as in the US. You may want to test around. And then if you really do want to be an owner, great. Being a renter is great too. You don't have to deal with much, but whatever brings you joy. Yeah, you may need some legal help. You definitely want to do your due diligence. There are rules if you're buying near the border or near the coast. You have to set up this fideicomiso, but it's possible. You can do anywhere. Safety, of course, varies greatly by region and city. The U.S. State Department does have a report on what they consider less safe areas. You want to, be smart. Even within one city, there are safer areas and less safe areas. I'm thinking of Mexico City, for example. Do your due diligence, but don't be too scared. I mean, even in Mexico, we hear stories. I've had friends say, "How can you send your kids to U.S. schools because there's guns and shooting all the time?" I mean, the news projects the worst of what's happening. Don't overly buy into what you hear that cartels are running everything and everyone's getting kidnapped or whatever the stories are. I mean, they're getting the same thing from the U.S. that every time there's a mass shooting, it gets reported and they're wondering what's going on. And not everyone's wondering, but just I think that's the same with natural disasters. You see a flood and it may be in only one spot. It may not be the entire city getting washed away, but that's what sells news. So just be careful, do your research. That's another reason to rent. Just make sure you feel comfortable in an area, but there's very safe areas, and definitely there's areas that I wouldn't wander around at night. But the same in the U.S. Not everywhere I'm going to wander around at night. Language. It's good to learn Spanish. You got to learn some. I mean, just to be polite. And you're going to meet super nice people. It's great. The more you can do, you don't have to be an expert though. Learn. It's a great project to learn Spanish. It goes on forever. It's fun. It's good. Learn as you can, make an effort. It'll help. It'll be helpful. Respect the customs and support local businesses. Sure. Of course. Yeah. Working requires proper authorization. I mean, make sure your visa, how you're going in, allows you to do what you want to do. Starting a business is a bit more of an effort than in the US, but it can be done. And it's just a process. It's a process. But yes, it can be done. Key takeaways: choose a location based on what your priorities are. And you might not even know all your priorities. So you go and experiment and play around, figure what you like. What are you going to be there year round? You're going to be there just for a few months. You're going to be there for, 8 months a year, depending on what you're looking for. Maybe the summer heat on the coast doesn't bug you. Maybe, mugginess in Merida isn't an issue. Maybe you want a small town or lakes. You like whatever you're into, or you want to be near a big airport or a big expat community. All of there's lots of trade-offs and choices. Check with the consulate you're going to for requirements. Make sure you're meeting everything. Have your records in order. You want to budget your living expenses and just know that you may be doing some tax filing on both sides. Yeah, important reminders. Just, if you need help with taxes, get help with taxes. It's great. If you want to work with someone to help with the immigration process, great. You can do it yourself, but you can ask for help. It's fine too. And property, I mean, I'd recommend you get some help with that. That is a process. Yep. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. My name is Bill Holliday. I'm a CFP with AIO Financial. We're at AIOfinancial.com. We're fee-only financial advisors. We work with clients on retirement plans, on investment management, on tax planning, on estate planning. What did I miss? There's 5 things: retirement planning, investments, taxes, estate planning, and insurance. Let us know. We offer a free upfront meeting, AIOfinancial.com. There's a link. You can set up a meeting for free. We'd be glad to talk to you about your financial situation, what your plans are, what your needs are, and what we can offer. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate you hanging out and listening. Thanks a lot.